So, thanks a lot for that. How do you like it so far? Good, good. I was just talking to Vixen before. Here he is. When he did all this, stand up and all this stuff. I had a similar thought, but I will not try to copy you, right, in that context now. So, yeah. When I heard what should be what's the headliner for my speak, I was a little bit. I mean, I know Star Wars, I know the saga, right? But I'm not an enthusiast. So I was really thinking about how to bring the Millennium Falcon together with Plesk. Then I found some, let's say, entry points. Some things where there is some development. So what is it about? How can you compare it with Plesk and actually how we developed as a company, but also from a pure product or solution platform together. So I always have the first things that I actually associated with the Millennium Falcon, of course, Han Solo, Chewbacca, a lot of crashes, a lot of fights, but at the end of the day, you can't really crash it, right? The good thing for Liu is that the Millennium Falcon is allowed 12 parsecs fast. I was looking it up at Google, but honestly I don't remember. But Liu, we will do our very, very, very best to bring the experience that you need as a blocker from a speed perspective, step by step into that direction. But don't nail us down in the next 3 or 4 weeks. Then I think what really make the Millennium Falcon a very special spaceship, besides the ship itself and besides Han and Chewbacca working on it, it's actually that they were working on it. They were improving it. They were updating it. They put additional functionalities in there, an additional feature set, so to speak. And with this, they were able to really fight the dark side and the dark forces. So as I said, at the end of the day, what I was associating to it was really about you can't crash it, it's fast, reliable, it saves lives, at least if you're Han and Chewbacca. If you're on the other side, it may take lives. But overall, we come to the point that for the saga and for Han and some of the characters of the Star Wars movies, it's really about that the Millennium Falcon is more or less priceless. So I thought that really the Millennium Falcon is maybe the one ship that you want to have, right? And I think there are a couple of episodes where they really try to get hold of the Millennium Falcon, but they never make it. So how I see it is that over the time, and the Millennium Falcon, it's actually a freight ship. This is how it started. And at the end, it takes the most desirable actions in these movies, right? It's a little bit like Plesk, starting from a control panel point of view, right? A graphical interface to log onto your server, and then developing over time. And I think when we look with Onyx and Obsidian, especially where we are now, it's more and more becoming of a very powerful innovation platform. Still, we are addressing admins. You can still log onto your server. We are automating the tasks that are actually needed. But if you compare it like where we actually started, it's quite a different thing. So nevertheless, during my research, I found some, let's say, fun facts. First, well, I thought, okay, how to compare this with Plesk maybe also, right? Do we have so much in common as I just lined out? So I found that the initial look of the Millennium Falcon was very, very different. So they now call it kind of a hamburger style, something like that. I wasn't sure about it, but there was movement with this. The Falcon was built in different sizes when they created the movies, from very small to very, very, very big, just parts of it, and so on. And talking about parts, which I was not aware of, parts of the Millennium Falcon, the big one that they used for a lot of the shoots, there are both in. Parts from Ferrari and parts from tanks. So, and then one of the things where I wanted to stop creating this slide deck actually was the point where I read that some of the control panels in the cockpit, they were not fully operational. And I thought, okay, bring this together with actually Plesk, right? Not a very smart thing. The reason why it was not full operational was that the actors might have some issues using them and with the interactions of these. But on the other side, think about our end users. So if I put these 4 facts against how my reaction was, I really saw, well, we are also not a hamburger, right? But on the other side, as I mentioned before, we're coming from a control panel, and we developed really into a platform for a lot of services which are needed in the internet and in the internet world. The second was a lot of different sizes. I think this counts for Plesk too. We have different versions, different editions from the number of domains that we support, and then with the extensions, right? So we can create a lot of different offerings, and also we are going from the large shared scale, but also to single server solutions, right, or dedicated ones. Some special modifications? Oh yeah, absolutely. So that developed over the last year many times. So starting with the light core that the development team and Jan were working on, the toolkits that we introduced, the partners, the third-party top-notch software that we integrated more and better, also from a user experience. So yeah, we including actually a lot of parts to make the product and the solution that we all want and that we all desire. Regarding the control panels in the cockpit, no, our control panel is full operational, so don't worry. Nevertheless, we are working on making it also very easy for not so technical people to really work with it. I think there's a huge shift from the end customer and end user profile. So, time for a closer look. When we talk about the extensions that we have, I sometimes get the question about why are you having the extensions and what do you want to achieve? I think it's actually very easy. There is so much different demand out in the market. People want to solve things. They have a pain point. They have actually a problem. So we need to, as we have more and more different tasks that we are operating on our servers, on our websites, and so on and so forth, that we need a set of functionalities and features to really make this in a very reliable and a high performance and especially easy way. So we are Plesk. We know where we are coming from. We know where our strength points are. We also know that we are no specialists in backup or in CDN and actually other stuff. So we are working together with partners where we know that they have a very good product, that the quality is good, that you can work together with them, so that we can actually give you and the end customers the tools so that they can benefit from the offerings that we create out of that. These bullet points here really is what Jan, I think you had it in your speech too. It's really about combining a set of tools and features to create the offerings dedicated for your end customer base. And I think over the last years, the personas behind them actually changed. Important also is that we sell actually currently a lot of the extensions via our online store. We know that the end customers, the admins, are ending up in our online store. On the other side, we know also from several talks and surveys also from the end customers that a little bit more than 40% would actually like to buy it from actually the service provider, right? So that's also a mechanism to see, okay, for my customer base, what kind of extensions do I actually need? What is interesting for them, and then integrate it into your ordering process, or at least in your online store, so that you can benefit. And I think it's also a benefit for the end customers here. So, short recap, why the extensions? We want to keep our own core clean to support all these functionalities and to have the speed on the development side and with the auto update, and to react very, very fast on certain circumstances in the market. It could be on the security side. It could be that also some of our vendors is bringing an update to really have the fastest and the most reliable time to market. Obviously, for us, it's a mechanism to have these special modifications like Han and Chewbacca. And then at the end of the day, I think there are the major topics that we heard a lot of today, which is about security, reliability, the performance, and at the end of the day, the quality of the offerings that you are selling to your end customers. On the other side, and that comes back, look at your customer base, look at them, and have really customer-centric offerings out there. This will differentiate you, it will help you, it will make also the way how you sell and the volumes, it will optimize that. At the end of the day, it's again about ARPU, and it's also about the customer lifetime value that we all create. And we want to keep the customer, we want to serve them, and we want to upsell them, right? So, short maybe about the personas that we see in the market. And I think it's not about if I'm a web designer, if I'm a web admin. I have different needs, but at the end of the day, I want the same. I want that it is easy. I want that you understand my needs. So we are reaching out to end customers. We are talking to end customers, to actually our partners, for the different segments that we see, so that we really understand. I think the best example is most likely the WordPress and the WordPress toolkit and what we're doing around this and the smart update functionality. I think what is very important is earn my trust, which we see here, and of course there must be a certain value. So talking about this as a base, you may remember this slide from Jan. It was about the hosters and the hoster size. When I talk to partners and we discuss and we have a little bit of let our minds flow, so to speak, about is it really the hyperscalers that are impacting our business a lot, where we have to be scared of? Yeah, maybe a little bit, but things change. In the last 5 years, there was a lot of change. In the last 10 years, even more. But I still think most of the services and most of our customers start with a domain and a website. So I think besides the hoster and the hoster size and maybe the markets and how they are selling, there is something else. All these SaaS-based website builders, and they have a huge customer base. They're growing fast. Wix, for example, just closed a deal in Japan with NTT. They're giving their end customers, I think, 4 or 5 years, the website for free. Sooner or later, they will turn it around. But think about with the customer base that they have, if they add additional services to it. One of them is also actually also WordPress. But I think around WordPress, as open as they are, we can build business cases. So we are the ecosystem here for actually WordPress. So looking back to Plesk and WordPress itself, the The top performers, I think we touched the points with which are very, very important. It's the user experience, speed, performance. I think we don't need to run through every one of that. I think there are two things. One I want to touch also, it's the support, like we heard before. When during the research, we were also not in we, but also the support and the support teams were actually called. So also the support teams need to be aware about WordPress and have insights and know-how of it to really help. And the other part is more and more, which is coming more and more, is actually managed services to actually offer them. So also before we go in, why it is so important. We have 75 million websites there. And at the end of the day, what we need to do, so we have a huge customer base, but we have to address the top needs again. And some of that, and I will touch this again, is our smart update functionality, because it really helps us a lot here. It brings also additional opportunities. And at the end of the day, like Jan also said in his speech, just to sell add-ons alone, it is a way, but people are getting more and more solution driven. They want to have a solution. And if it is valuable and if they build their business on it, then they also spend a little bit more, which also brings us to the point that they will stay longer if I deliver in a very good quality. So if I think about it, what the biggest threats, what we heard from Jan, from Andy, from Lou, from Wixon also, about the biggest threats. So one thing is that most websites based on WordPress are infected and they are outdated, and they are actually a risk, which means that if somebody gets hacked and the end customer is having a downtime, a lot of these guys don't know how to update it, as you just said, Lou, right? So we as the people with the know-how and the technical skill and the technical ability, we really have to actually help them. They will be happy. They will be happy with your service, which means, in addition, less support calls, which we all want to avoid from a host and service provider perspective, a better rating, and with this, also the ability to upsell additional services. So, coming to the point of the managed services and put an offering together, but not just for that. One thing is the base is still the servers that I have underneath it, have Plesk on it, use the WordPress toolkit, put some additional tools around it which actually work and which are demanded. Could be backup again, could be malware scan, could be a monitoring tool. And then the third pillar then is really premium support, managed services, manage the server and the solution to a big extent for your customers. And those guys who are really building their business off, they will actually value it. We have the discussion from time to time about with the extensions and Plesk and the server and the infrastructure, what could be surprise points and how is it from a pure calculation point of view, right? I have a cost on the one side, I have a selling price where I need to be competitive. The other part is then so what's the actual margin? We have the discussion sometimes, if in this example we did it, that if you sell a server or managed server for $60 and your own cost is around about 10 on the VPS side, you have this $50 of margin, right? This is what you actually make. The issue is if it is a pure instance, the customers can switch very, very easy from you to another provider to the hyperscalers, which is very, very popular. And believe me, also on the hyperscalers side, for example, it is that they are also adding additional services. They have the one-click apps to actually start with. So they understand that they have to, besides the pure infrastructure services, they have to provide additional solutions, applications. That's where's the demand. So we did this small calculation for different with additional extensions that we see which are used actually in the market. It is that it lowers your margin if you compare it to the pure managed VPSL. On the other side, if you sell a solution and you're getting these customers with this need for this, it is really that the customer lifetime value will increase, because otherwise they will maybe switch somewhere else. And again, coming to the point, so we are trying to keep the customer. We're trying to reduce the churn that we have. And with this, just think about if you want to grow your customer base, and I know that you all know it. It's about the customer acquisition cost that I save. In addition to that, and I know there are many general managers, CEOs, P&L owners, it's also good because it's also increasing the top line revenue on the other side, right? So looking at some examples where I know that you, for sure, from the second row on, I think it will be very, very hard, right, to look into this into the details. But what we see is we still have these very basic shared offerings, and then going and adding more and more functionality with more value for actually the partners, and with this increasing the price. Besides pure resources, this is actually the only example from one of the partners here in the room, right? But what I actually think is what we see here on the right-hand side, they're explaining where the value is in a malware scan and the removal from the malware scan. This is what the people understand. We have to explain it to them. I also like here on the bottom right side, keep the bad guys away, right? This is a wording where the IT admin may have a little bit of a smile, but my father-in-law, he would actually understand it, right? So, okay, the bad guys are actually locked out, so I don't leave the key in the car, right? I take it with me, and that's it. Professional support, backup, restore, designed for speed. So, and another topic that we talked about, a free migration or help with the migration from actually the websites. Another example where we really see the difference also between the shared WordPress and the managed WordPress, and how you can actually offer it. On the left-hand side, for a little bit less than $3, one a WordPress website, a couple of databases, that's it, more or less, right? And then the only difference between these three pillars here is more or less that how many websites do we have? A little bit of actually storage, but it's very related to the specs. Some people then always say, yeah, but managed is very, very expensive, right? Compared to, so where and how can I close the gap? So if you look at it, that's the managed WordPress offering here. The limitation is with the websites, a little bit the storage, but also with the value add that they're actually adding. So meaning like, for example, and think about that most businesses, how many websites or WordPress websites do they really need? But they are willing to pay. 1, 3, 5, 10? Then it's already a very interesting business, but then it's also worth actually the value. And then you see that from the large shared offering with unlimited websites, where usually those guys don't need the unlimited websites, to a managed one with more and additional security and quality solutions around it and bundled to it, this step is not very, very big. And I think a customer who appreciates your offering and who sees that you are investing into them, that you are really helping them, who is not then willing to pay $5 to $10 more per month, is maybe also a customer whom you will never be able to upsell, and maybe even not to keep him for a long time. So here's a little bit the comparison between the shared WordPress hosting and the managed WordPress hosting, really to say, for example, like what we have with our smart update, the staging, so that you can compare your current production site with what it will look like later, and if everything okay, then you just roll it out. This is one, comes really more from the from a service provider who has business customers, who is really going for the business customers. Here on the left-hand side, this is more or less shared. But you see that with the extensions that they added with the WordPress toolkit, the SEO toolkit, and then through the packages also with Google page speed, so from the performance point of view, and so on and so forth, they go from $20 to even $70 per month. I have to admit it's Canadian dollars, it's not US dollars. On the right-hand side, it's their managed WordPress offering. And the one with the $69 here on the left side is actually for one managed WordPress site. And if you want to have a managed server on top, we're talking about $199. Those guys are not doing bad. The cost is not that much, it's about how you position it, and yes, obviously, you need the end customer base, right? That is looking for such, and appreciates with support and the performance and the quality that you, as a company, deliver, is actually worth it. But it's a very, very profitable business. So I know part of the calculation, the underlying calculation of that. The last one is really about more, Here you also see shared. This is also a shared WordPress offering, I think, in a range that we know. So it really starts with $1 per month. So it's more on the lower pricing end, and goes up. And then here again on the right-hand side, if you look like with premium WordPress hosting, some add-ons, as we just mentioned them earlier. Then you see that the price difference is not that big. They also included the free migration, and if you come from another service provider, you even get a 10% discount. This is catching them and then step by step upselling them with additional needed functionalities. Difference here also, shared and actually WordPress. Also in this example, it is cPanel. I don't want to pitch against cPanel here. I think the disadvantage that they have at this stage, there is no WordPress toolkit, right? And this brings a lot of the other functionalities with them. Smart update, for example. What I like with this hoster here is actually that he explains then also what is behind the names, right? So what benefit do I actually have with these add-ons that are included. So bringing it in a small summary, sell the values, not just the infrastructure. Describe what managed offerings means. Not a long time ago, I was in the US at a very large hoster, and they actually told me when I asked what's the difference between their managed and unmanaged VPS offering. The answer was the managed includes a control panel. They are doing nothing. It's just to provide this piece of software for control panel. Be very clear and transparent about what they can expect from your support teams. And then at the end of the day, really speak in a language that the end customers understands, saying keep the bad guys out. Good. So it's more and more less about infra and the price and the specs. It plays a role, we know it. But I also tell you from my experience, usability beats security. And this is why some people don't do things, or they do crazy stuff. So coming back, I think the Millennium Falcon and Plesk, we still have a lot of things in common, both safe. I think our products, or we are running very stable. We have a lot of innovation that comes with us, and we're really working to deliver the best possible performance and usability. And all of this so that we all can be profitable. And I think this as a package, I think, is also what the Millennium Falcon is. It's priceless. We had that, so we get a lot of feedback. We feel confident, and we are sure that we are really the best trusted partner at this stage for WordPress offerings. And what we don't want with all this innovation, with all the technology, like Jan said, we don't want to fall back into the stone time area, right? Where we argue about that we are too busy with operational things instead of using the capabilities that we have in the market, or that partners like Plesk can actually provide you, and with this also to the end customer. I think I'm like 2 minutes over. Then, thank you. That's it.